It's what I can do. My husband was very sick for a long time, and then he died. And he didn't pass away, he died. And I didn't think I could ever work again. We were so close, and he was.
For decades, Mitzi Gaynor has been remembered as one of Hollywood's brightest stars, a dazzling performer who lit up both the stage and the screen with her breathtaking dance routines, powerful singing voice, and unforgettable charisma. Audiences around the world adored her performances in classics like South Pacific, and her elaborate television specials became annual events that families gathered around the television to enjoy. To millions, she seemed like the embodiment of glamour, joy, and success. But behind the lights, music, and applause, Mitzi Gaynor's life was far more complicated than most ever realized. Her family, who remained remarkably private during the height of her fame, has recently begun opening up about the woman behind the legend. They describe a figure who was far more human, someone who endured heartbreak, grueling professional demands, and moments of private struggle that never made their way into the headlines. For years, rumors circulated about the real pressures Mitzi faced while balancing her career with her personal life. Whispers about health scares, difficult relationships, and even struggles with isolation painted a far different picture than the glamorous image audiences adored. Her family has now come forward to share long-guarded details, shedding new light on what truly shaped the star audiences thought they knew so well. What they revealed is both inspiring and heartbreaking, a story of resilience, sacrifice, and the hidden cost of living under constant public scrutiny. This is the untold truth about Mitzi Gaynor, finally brought into the open by those when Mitzi Gaynor first burst onto the Hollywood scene in the 1950s. She represented everything audiences adored about the golden era of musicals. With her magnetic smile, stunning dance ability, and a voice that could fill theaters with ease, she quickly became a household name. Films like South Pacific cemented her reputation as one of the greats, and her stage presence seemed effortless. To fans, she embodied confidence, glamour, and endless energy. But according to her family, that image only told part of the story. Behind the curtain, Mitzi lived a life of grueling schedules and unrelenting pressure. Her family has recently revealed that during her peak years, the star often pushed herself to dangerous extremes to maintain her performances. She rehearsed tirelessly, often skipping meals or sleeping only a few hours to ensure she hit every note, every step, and every line with precision. Her dedication came at a cost, one that fans never saw. What the public didn't realize was how deeply the competitive nature of Hollywood weighed on her. Mitzi knew she was constantly being compared to other legendary performers like Debbie Reynolds and Doris Day, and she carried the burden of perfection on her shoulders. According to her relatives, she often confided privately that she worried she wasn't good enough, even as audiences adored her. This fear pushed her harder, but it also left her exhausted and emotionally drained. Her family also spoke about the toll that the entertainment industry took on her personal life. While her marriage to Jack Bean appeared stable and enduring from the outside, the pressures of show business frequently created distance and strain. Long separations due to touring schedules and the constant need to maintain her star image left little room for vulnerability. Mitzi rarely let the public see the struggles she carried silently. There were also health challenges along the way. The long rehearsals, demanding choreography, and constant performances led to injuries and fatigue, but Mitzi rarely allowed herself to stop. Her family has said she often ignored her body's warning signs, choosing instead to keep pushing forward. Terrified of losing her place in an industry that was notorious for discarding stars as quickly as it celebrated them, what her loved ones have revealed now paints a far more human portrait than the flawless entertainer millions adored. Mitzi Gaynor wasn't simply a glamorous performer. She was a woman who sacrificed her health, her time, and often her peace of mind to meet the unrelenting demands of fame. While fans saw the sparkle, her family saw the sacrifices, the tears, the exhaustion, and the quiet doubts that shadowed even her brightest performances. This new perspective doesn't tarnish Mitzi's legacy, it deepens it. To know what she endured behind the scenes only highlights the immense strength it took to maintain her career at such a high level. Her family's revelations remind us that while Mitzi Gaynor seemed untouchable on stage and screen, she was as human as the rest of us, carrying burdens that fame could never erase. Who knew her best? As the spotlight continued to shine on Mitzi Gaynor through the 1960s and 70s, her professional life seemed unstoppable. Her elaborate television specials became annual events that dazzled audiences with colorful costumes, dazzling choreography, and glamorous guest stars. To the outside world, she appeared to be living every performer's dream. Yet, as her family has shared in recent years, those glitzy productions often masked a quieter story, one of loneliness, exhaustion, and emotional struggle. Her relatives explained that the perfection her shows demanded came at an immense emotional cost. Every television special meant months of preparation, rehearsing for hours, memorizing routines, and dealing with the high expectations of producers and sponsors. Mitzi's drive to deliver something extraordinary each time pushed her to her limits. Family members recalled how, during those times, she would often retreat into herself when the cameras weren't rolling, weighed down by the fear of letting her audience down. One of the most striking revelations from her family is how isolated Mitzi often felt, even while surrounded by adoring fans. While audiences assumed she was living a glamorous social life in Hollywood, in reality, the demands of her career frequently kept her apart from her loved ones. The long hours and constant travel left her with little time to nurture relationships outside of her work. Her family describes a woman who, despite the adulation of millions, sometimes wrestled with a sense of emptiness when the lights dimmed and the applause faded. Behind closed doors, Mitzi's loved ones say she sometimes struggled with feelings of self-doubt and insecurity, even when she was at the peak of her fame. Hollywood was a world that constantly celebrated youth and novelty, and as the years passed, Mitzi became increasingly aware of the industry's tendency to move on to the next big star. According to her family, this fear haunted her. She worried that all she had worked so hard to build could be swept away in an instant, leaving her forgotten. Her marriage to Jack Bean, while long-lasting, was not without challenges. The entertainment industry was notoriously hard on relationships, and their union faced its share of strains. Though Jack was also her manager and fiercely devoted to her success, the dynamic often blurred the line between business and personal life. Her family recalls that Mitzi sometimes yearned for a more traditional sense of partnership, one that wasn't always tied to the pressures of her career. Yet she rarely spoke about these struggles publicly, preferring instead to maintain the polished image her fans expected. Health also remained an undercurrent in her private battles. While she rarely showed weakness, those closest to her knew that the demanding routines left her dealing with constant aches, pains, and fatigue. Even when advised to slow down, Mitzi's perfectionism and determination drove her forward. Her family described her as someone who simply couldn't imagine disappointing the millions who tuned in year after year to see her sparkle. The truth, her family admits, is that Mitzi's glamorous image was both a blessing and a burden. She was adored and celebrated, but the weight of sustaining that level of perfection took a toll that few could have imagined. Her relatives have shared these insights not to diminish her legacy, but to honor the resilience behind her smile. As time moved forward and Mitzi Gaynor stepped away from the grueling pace of her early career, the public assumed she was enjoying the rewards of her decades in show business. She remained a beloved figure at public appearances, award ceremonies, and in interviews where she always radiated charm and grace. But what her family has since revealed is that the transition from the constant spotlight to a quieter life was not as easy as many might have believed. For someone who had lived most of her adult life in the relentless rhythm of rehearsals, performances, and tours, slowing down came with its own challenges. Her relatives have described how Mitzi wrestled with adjusting to a world where she wasn't constantly performing. She missed the energy of the stage, the roar of the audience, and the validation that came with every round of applause. While she welcomed the peace that came with stepping back, there was also a deep sense of loss that lingered beneath the surface. Her family recalls that Mitzi struggled with moments of sadness. In her later years, times when she questioned her identity outside of the dazzling costumes and choreographed routines. They say she would sometimes reflect on whether she had given too much of herself to her career at the expense of a more private, personal happiness. The demands of her profession had consumed so much of her time, and as the years passed, those sacrifices became clearer to her and to those who loved her. Another layer of truth her family revealed is that Mitzi faced health scares that she rarely spoke about publicly. While she always maintained her glamorous public image, her loved ones saw the behind-the-scenes reality of hospital visits, recovery periods, and the vulnerability that came with aging. She remained strong and resilient, but her family admits there were times when the woman who had once been seen as indestructible was quietly fighting battles far away from the public eye. Through these struggles, her family became her anchor. They describe moments of laughter, private gatherings, and small, simple joys that gave Mitzi a sense of grounding she never truly found in Hollywood. They shared that while fame had brought her admiration from strangers, it was the quiet evenings with loved ones, the stories, the jokes, and the warmth that gave her the most comfort in her later years. Yet, her family also noted that Mitzi never lost her pride in her accomplishments. Even when health challenges or doubts weighed on her, she never dismissed the joy she brought to her audiences. She often reflected with gratitude on the opportunities she had, even if they came with sacrifices. Her relatives remember her as someone who was keenly aware of the complexity of her journey, both the glittering highs and the painful lows. What stands out most in her family's accounts is the humanity of Mitzi Gaynor. She was not only a star on the screen, but also a woman who faced the same questions and fears we all do, about purpose, about love, and about what it means to live a life well lived. Their decision to share these personal insights comes from a place of love, ensuring that her legacy is remembered not just for her on-stage brilliance, but also for the strength she showed in her private battles. By opening up about these truths, Mitzi's family has given fans a fuller picture of who she really was, not just an icon of Hollywood musicals, but a woman whose resilience, vulnerability, and humanity made her story even more remarkable. In reflecting on Mitzi Gaynor's long and storied life, her family has made one thing abundantly clear. Behind the glamour and applause was a woman who lived with both great joy and profound challenges. For decades, fans only saw the radiant star who sparkled in musicals, television specials, and sold-out performances. But with time, her loved ones have revealed a deeper truth, one that shows Mitzi not only as a performer, but as a woman of resilience, sacrifice, and humanity. The truth they've shared is not meant to dim her brilliance. It's meant to complete the picture. While Mitzi dazzled millions, her family remembers the late nights when exhaustion weighed heavy, the health struggles she faced with courage, and the quieter moments of reflection when she wondered if she had given too much of herself to a demanding industry. Their stories shine a light on the sacrifices behind her artistry, reminding us that success in Hollywood often comes at a cost hidden from public view. What makes Mitzi's story so powerful is how she continued to embody grace despite her struggles. Even when she faced doubts or health challenges, she maintained her warmth and charisma in public, never letting her fans see the battles she endured. Her family believes this strength came not from her fame, but from her inner resilience and the love she carried for the people closest to her. That love, they say, defined her more than any role or performance ever could. As her family looks back, they speak not only of a star, but of a woman who laughed easily, cherished simple joys, and carried her vulnerabilities with quiet dignity. They want the world to understand that Mitzi Gaynor's legacy is not just about her unforgettable work in South Pacific or her dazzling television specials. It is about the courage it took to keep going. When the spotlight dimmed, fans across generations may remember Mitzi for her radiant performances, but her family hopes they will also remember the sacrifices she made to give the world those moments. They reveal these truths not to cast a shadow, but to highlight her humanity, proving that her true greatness was not just in her ability to entertain, but in her ability to endure. Today, when we revisit her films, watch clips of her dancing across a stage, or hear her voice fill a room, We are reminded not only of the talent that made her an icon, but also of the woman who worked tirelessly behind the scenes, balancing joy and struggle, triumph and sacrifice. Her family's decision to finally share these long-guarded details gives us the chance to appreciate her on a deeper level, as someone who, like all of us, was imperfect but resilient, vulnerable but strong. In the end, the truth about Mitzi Gaynor doesn't change her story, it enriches it. She was more than the sparkle, more than the glamour, more than the flawless routines. She was a woman who carried burdens with grace, who found laughter even in difficult times, and who left behind a legacy that resonates far beyond the stage. By opening up, her family has ensured that Mitzi will be remembered not only as one of Hollywood's brightest stars, but also as a woman whose strength, vulnerability, and humanity make her story timeless.